Tour Junkies.
What is going on, golf addicts? DB here with the Tour Junkies. My boy Pat Perry with me. This is the 2024 Travelers Championship DFS and betting show. We're bundling it all up in one. In addition to that, we're going to start off with a little U.S. Open recap because it was too great of a major to not sit here and talk about it. We usually don't spend a lot of time on the recaps. We try to get into it, right? Because everybody wants to give me the bets and the DFS and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But this week, we got to talk about it, Pat. And I got to say, it was an amazing Sunday of golf, amazing 4 days of golf, amazing duel down the stretch there with Rory and Bryson. Congrats to you for having Bryson on Pat's Not That Anybody Really Cares betting card for your second outright of the PGA Tour season, which is doing something this
Yeah,
season.
I mean, it's something. It's something.
It's doing something. You know, got him at 22-1, put him on the card.
He was kind of a last minute addition. It was just a gut play. So
yeah, we'll talk about maybe how late you came around on that and possibly some other things that it may have caused later on. But let's talk about Bryson first as the 2024 U.S. Open winner. We're going to talk about this. Like, the timestamps are in there. So if you want to just get to the Traveler stuff, then check the timestamps. We're going to spend some time on this because I think I want to put our spin on it. You can go a lot of different places to hear about the U.S. Open recap. But me and Pat really just want to talk about it. And I think our spin on it is just fun for us. So if it's not fun for you, go to the timestamps. Pat, Bryson. Let's talk about the champ first.
Yeah.
Can I just say, I want to say a couple things. I want to take a couple L's. Okay? I'm going to take an L.
Okay. All right. Good.
I was greatly impressed with Bryson's short game this week. Greatly impressed.
Yes, it was.
And I have been a noted Bryson denier on certain major championship venues due to the short game. He showed us something at Augusta this past April. And it flashed on grand display. Now, Pinehurst is going to make you hit dumb shots and silly shots. But we talk about players leveling up. The thing that I think was missing from Bryson's game, especially on certain types of major championship venues, including Augusta, was his touch around the greens with these wedges. And for a long time, for a lot of years, I've blasted him for, having these goofy wedges that he has. And I think rightfully so. But I don't know that I was paying enough attention to how much that has improved in his game, because we saw it on grand display and it saved his butt at Pinehurst. So I think we need to be put on notice at majors going forward. The Bryson short game is not what it used to be, number one.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on that front?
No, I mean, it was ridiculously good. It was very evident, and I watched a ton of golf this weekend. So,
yeah. I want to move quickly through this first couple topics, and we can sit on something for a minute.
Okay.
Bryson now has 2 majors, 2 U.S. Opens. Where would you set the over-under on how many majors Bryson gets in his career? It's something we do, we tend to do after a guy wins a major. We all tend to freak out and talk about how many they're going to have. And it's part of it. How many, if you set the number, what do you think is the best number? He's only 30 years old. Now, he was getting physio on Saturday. He was getting physioed up on Saturday, getting bent up in the woods over there, looking like some sort of strange film, that you find in June. But, who knows how the body holds up. He's a strong kid. He's only 30. What do you think? What do you put the number at?
I'd say 5.
Whew, that's a little higher than I thought you were going to say.
Yeah,
it's not by much.
I'd say 5. Yeah.
So if you set that as the sharp number, are you taking the over or under? If you had to bet a side,
I think I'd probably take the under, but because I think it could get to 5 and it could just literally just wash. But I don't think he gets to 6. So I'll take the under.
You lose if you took the.
I guess you're right. Yeah, I would lose. So
you got to set it at a half number.
Yeah, like 5.5 then. 5.5, and I'll take 5.
Take the under.
Yeah.
5.5. So 4 more. Yeah, I mean, I think 5.5 is a little high. I think that's a high number. So I think I would take the under too.
I mean, it
But if
just
the
depends
number
on
were
what you're looking at too, like what tournaments you think he can win
yeah.
at. I don't know yet about Augusta. I do think a PGA and maybe even another US Open. So
Yeah. I would set the number at 4.5, and then I think you have a tough decision.
yeah.
Because I mean, even if he plays his best golf for the next, just give him 10 years, or plays good golf for the next 10 years. That's 30, 40 majors. Could you rattle off 3 more out of those? I mean, obviously it's tough. Anyway, he was impressive. He was very impressive. I want to talk about the coverage on Sunday and Brandel. You didn't get to hear a lot of that, did you?
I did not, because I was actually sitting at a bar watching it. They didn't have the TV going.
Boy, Brandel
Or the
just
sound.
could not. Brandel just couldn't. He was nobody's pulled hard. And you know what? I was thinking today, I was in the gym this morning thinking about it. And I was like, I wonder if Brandel did that on purpose. And maybe he did, which if he did, bravo. Like maybe he just said, you know what? I'm going to be the guy in the booth very like clearly rooting against the guy. And that's not kind of what you're supposed to do, but that's what I'm going to do as a broadcaster. If he did, good for him. That's it. That makes it interesting. If he was trying to be neutral and trying to be like a capital J big time journalist guy that doesn't show his favoritism or whatever towards a guy or one guy or the other, he did a horrible job. It's like nobody was more triggered by Bryson's tee shots ending up where they ended up and some of the breaks he got and he kept talking about. I mean, God, he kept talking. He couldn't shut up about Bryson can't work the ball. It's because he's got all that bulge on his. It was all about bulge, man. Sunday was a bulge day, and it's also Father's Day. If you're a father, you probably got a little, it's on a spectrum, but you got a bulge in you.
Yeah.
There was a lot of bulge discussion on Sunday. And it was Brandel talking about the bulge in his iron faces, maybe keep. I mean, I don't know how he's going to hit a cut out of this trouble shot. I can't remember what hole it was, like 12 or something or 8. He's like, I don't know how he's going to hit a cut out of here. He can't hit a cut. He's got all that bulge, and it makes everything hit it straight, and he can't work the ball. And what does he do? He hits a freaking cut, and like Brandel just couldn't stop just trying to do anything possible, or trying like he couldn't be fair to Bryson whatsoever. Maybe at the end, I know Bryson got on the set of Golf Channel late last night. Oh God!
Well, Brandel's always been kind of a noted LIV hater, so maybe some of that channeled through. And then I think he kind of like I almost felt like he tried a little too hard to have like a Johnny Miller, type attitude to him. That was what Johnny Miller used to always do, would just criticize so much, about players. So maybe that was it. I don't know. I did feel like he tried a little bit too hard when I was able to hear him on the broadcast.
What is let's talk about this. I mean, obviously the shot, we could talk about the shot into 18 or the bunker shot on 18 was tremendous. We don't have to go blow by blow of his round, because I think a lot of other outlets can do that. I will say, when he was on the tee, and at this point, I'll say this. When he was on the tee on 18, I'm watching with my son, and I was like, I think Bryce needs to hit 3-wood here. Like, we just saw Rory hit it left into that stuff. I've seen a bunch of Ludwig was over there at one point one day over the weekend where Lud was on TV a lot. Everything just seemed to funnel into that native area near the TIO left, and he had just he drove the green on the one hole with the 3-wood at like 180 ball speed. And I'm sitting here telling my son, I'm like, this is where I just think he just needs to hit 3-wood here. Like, he's still gonna have a wedge, and you're less likely to like run all the way into that mess. Hits driver, ends up trying to get TIO relief, doesn't get it, which was awesome. But just in general, it was an interesting day for me. I said I was going to take a couple L's. I won't say this is an L, but I just think, as a lot of people have noted, maybe since the PGA is when it really started coming out, like, my opinion of Bryson has kind of changed. And I could feel turmoil yesterday with it, like trying to figure out, am I rooting? I couldn't figure it out for I kept, Do I want Rory or do I want Bryson? And obviously I'm like, well, Pat has Bryson on the card, but I was also trying to separate that and like say, okay, now who do I really want here? I mean, Hideki was the only horse I had in the betting card. Scotty Scheffler, my God, I'll take that L. But I feel like for a lot of people, at least the last two majors, given Bryson's maturity, I think that we've kind of gotten to see over the last few years. He's now 30. We know a lot of things change in a young man's brain in their 20s, especially one who's not married, no kids. I mean, I think getting married is the most selfless thing you do for your life. Like it costs a lot of sacrifice, right?
Mhm.
Having kids, same thing. Like that changes a guy. He didn't get married. He doesn't have kids, but so I think his development may be a little slower at times. I think in terms of just maturity, not that he's not smart, but I think a lot of the years that I rode his ass and criticized the hell out of him was watching him develop as a 20-something-year-old dude with a underdeveloped frontal lobe. And I feel like we're kind of watching that turn, and some of it's the YouTube content and what LIV Golf has allowed him to do, and people are enjoying watching that, and he's kind of captured a young generation of fans through that. But there was a lot of turmoil in me in figuring out if I wanted him to win. I can imagine for you being a longtime Rory
Mhm.
lover, not really a YouTube golf guy. Like, how many Bryson videos on YouTube have you watched?
I don't think I've
None?
watched a single one.
Okay. Like, I haven't watched many. I think I've watched maybe 3
Yeah.
or 4. But not a big Bryson YouTube guy, not as much of a LIV fan as me, although that could change after this week. But you had Bryson on the card. What was going on for you?
I mean, look, I was pulling for Rory. I was. It's hard when you've been a fan of you know Rory for so long. In general, I mean, there's some things that still bug me about him, just like anybody. Um, but deep down, I think I was pulling for Rory. But I was still happy for Bryson, and I was happy for the show that we were getting. I thought it was awesome. Probably one of the best majors we've had in a
Yeah.
long time. And I agree. Bryson has changed a lot. I think, his maturity. He doesn't seem like he's trying so hard to. I mean, there's a lot of things that now that used to maybe look like antics that don't even look like they look more natural than they used to. Even his celebration on 18 just felt like elation and not like he was trying too hard. And he comes off the tee box at one of those holes and signs a kid's hat and all this kind of stuff and all of these kind of things. Like, I think, somebody was texting me like, this just looks like an act. And I was like, I don't think it's an act. I think he's actually changed a good amount. And, his father passed away a couple years ago. I think that affects you a little bit too. And, your perspective changes. And I think his has. And I think it's good for the game. I mean, there's certainly
Yeah,
going to be things.
there's no denying that.
No, there are going to be things about Bryson that annoy anybody and will still
Yes.
annoy you and I both. But
Yes.
the tide has turned a little bit from just being kind of a Bryson hater to appreciating him and, being a little bit of a fan of what he brings to the game.
So I wanted to talk about the awkward stuff because that's the kind of some of that stuff is the stuff that drove me nuts for so long about him. And there were a lot of parts of it yesterday that were kind of cringe.
There have
Still.
been a few, yeah.
Dude, one of the funniest like I laughed out loud when he at the trophy ceremony. And I told my son, I said, okay, because my son laughed too. He's 13, and even he thought it was weird. But I was like, okay, right there, like his mouth was moving faster than his brain at that point. When he was like, he's got the trophy in hand. He's like, and he turns to the crowd. He's like, and I want everybody to touch this tonight. And then you could tell, like at some point, some synapse fired, and it was like, oh God, what that? It sounds bad. It's weird. Logistically, how are we going to do that? And then he was like, "We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out." Now he did. He found a way to do it. But like, I think sometimes he gets ahead of himself, And I thought Jeff Feinberg had a very interesting tweet yesterday. Now I think people are going to laugh at me. I'm not a Big Bang Theory guy. Are you a Big Bang Theory guy?
No, not that television show.
I think so. Yeah. I think this is the character. Sheldon Cooper.
Yeah, I
think
do know some of the characters, but I didn't watch a ton of it.
Jeff, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but he basically was like, the awkwardness of Bryson is not because it's not phony. is what Jeff is saying. We used to wonder if it was phony, and maybe some of it was to an extent. And again, that's some of the maturation process. But Jeff, I thought, made an interesting point. Even though I don't watch the show, I know the premise. He's like, he's basically golf Sheldon Cooper. He is a savant. He's so brilliant in some ways, and also so awkward. Yet he's not aware of his awkwardness.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just his brain is just and we know this. Like his brain is wired very differently.
Yeah.
The guy hit a damn driver that he'd hit 5 times on the driving range because of I don't know. He's just a different cat. And I thought that was a very interesting take from Jeff. And that may be a lot of what we see. Some of the stuff that he leans into and some of the stuff he says. And I understand if you look at it and go, that guy is a tool or he's a dork or I'm not a fan. I get it. I'm saying I've spent years crushing on him, crapping on him. And I, not that I won't again, but he's turned me around. I would say I'm kind of on the Bryson. Like I like Bryson more than I dislike Bryson. There's still things I don't like about him, but he kind of won me over, and it was kind of endearing, the whole thing. I mean, and the stuff he did after, the Johnson Wagner content was fantastic. Walking around with a trophy everywhere. He did get into the crowd. He shows up on the set. Like he was everywhere. He was freaking everywhere. He was on Good Morning America, I think, this morning. The dude's everywhere.
Yeah.
He's a content machine. Like and subscribe to the channel, folks. By the way, do that here as well.
Yeah, I mean, look, I agree. I think he is. I've become a fan, and I don't think we're the only ones. I think there's a lot of people over the last 2 weeks. We saw it at the PGA. It continued at the U.S. Open. So I think you're gonna continue to see that, and yeah, it was great. I didn't get to see a lot of the stuff afterwards, but I'll have to go back and check it out.
Well, before we move on and talk about Rory, I got to thank our friends at Swannies. Thank you to Swannies. We had a great week. Hooked up some new SoBet users for some Swannies gear. By the way, it's getting hot in here. Let me just flash this.
Yeah, that's a good looking shirt. I don't know if I've seen that one.
It's got that little floral hit in there. You know what I mean? On the sleeves. This is a sweet one here. TJ25 gets you 25% off your entire order on swannies.co. The link is in the description of the podcast or YouTube video. Check them out. They got stuff for men, women, juniors, all of the above. Great quality clothing at a great price. Not like this, it ain't Malbon pricing, where you got to mortgage your house to buy a shirt and a hoodie. It's great stuff, and they're great people, family running, owned in the U.S., shipping anywhere from into the U.S. and Canada, in thousands of golf shops and retailers all over the U.S. Great people. Thank you to Swannies. TJ25 is the code. Support them. All right, let's move. Rory, your boy. I guess I'll say 3 things, and I'll just let you take whatever you want and run with it. His play yesterday, leaving the golf course the way he did, and his major outlook going forward. Pick one to start.
Let's talk with his play yesterday.
Okay.
For nearly 95% of that round was fantastic. He did, maybe not 95, but
the irons weren't great.
The irons weren't great, but he came out there and in big moments where he had to make big putts, like birdie putts, he made them. And he got it to 8 under, which is not a number I thought we would even see. And, he looked, for the most part, despite the little mistakes he was making with his irons, because he was still hitting the driver pretty daggum good for the most part. He looked like he had that swagger, and that it felt like Rory's day. It did. Even though Bryson was still there the whole time and he was putting on a show also, because Bryson was doing a lot of things too, but Bryson was also having to watch him, drain putts right in front of him. And so it just felt again like this was going to be his day. But in the biggest moments, it just those 2 putts, really not even the putt on 18. It was the other one on, what was that, 16?
16.
16, that was terrible. Like, 18, I can get like we're not sitting there on that green and all these
That's a
greens.
tough putt.
Yeah, it's probably a lot tougher putt, but 16 was pretty much inexcusable. That shouldn't have happened. That felt like he lost concentration. I don't know. Something happened there. He had to make the putts to get him in the position that he was in. So that was good. But again, it just, it's kind of starting to wear on me as a fan of Rory that these things are happening because you're like, I don't know if he is. This goes into the next subject. I don't know if he is going to win another major. He's like in his own head. Like he's going to need somebody to like players to just fall off, like, and not give him a challenge, and then he wins a major. It's like Kiowa when he won there, or his U.S. Open title at Congressional. He kind of just like dominated that golf course, and nobody really challenged him, and he won. But I don't even know if I can see that happening. But it just seems like if he's going to be down the stretch like he was at the Open Championship a few years ago when Cam Smith won, or this U.S. Open with Bryson, if he's going down the stretch toe-to-toe with somebody, I don't feel like he can get the job done anymore.
Since 2022, since the Masters in 2022, he has 5 top 5 finishes, including 3 runner-ups and a third-place finish. He's still, so 5 out of his last 11 majors, he has top 5s. 3 out of his last 11 runner-up. I think that I actually think that after yesterday, and I'm again kind of a noted Rory. That was the thing too yesterday. Like these are 2 guys who I kind of have notoriously crapped on and in some ways not liked, but have come around recently on. I mean, even Rory, with how he's had to handle some things and battle some adversity. I actually think that my belief in him winning one went up a little bit. I just think like enough scar tissue builds. Yesterday was brutal. I mean, that was heartbreaking, gut-wrenching, brutal way to lose the golf tournament.
Yeah.
But he still feels like he can be the best player in the world at any given major, regardless of the golf course, regardless of the major. He can be the best player in the world that week, and it can be there for him. And some majors are going to be able to. He's going to be able to afford to make more mistakes than others, but I think enough scar tissue builds, he recovers. Is it at Troon in a month? I don't know. We'll see. But he continues to find himself there with an opportunity. And as long as I keep seeing that, I feel like eventually the dam breaks and we get it. Because he's been doing this long enough, right? I mean, this is what 40 majors or however many majors since he's won his last one. It's not like he hasn't experienced heartbreak since getting the question of when is his next one over the last 10 years. It's not like he hasn't had that.
Yeah.
But I think with every one like this and with every bad thing that happens to you or mess up that you have, you learn a little bit extra, right? So like maybe in the next majors, he's standing over a 2.5 footer that's dead ass straight, and he takes a little bit of a beat, or just thinks about how he feels, or maybe he felt awkward. I was talking about this with a friend the other day. We were playing golf, and he was like, he had a bad shot, and he goes, "Dude, do you do this sometimes? Do you like stand over the ball and know that you don't feel right, or know that you don't like how high it's teed up or how low it's teed up or your aim, but then you just pull it back anyway?" And I go, 100% I do that.
Yeah.
Why do I do that? I'm a ding dong. What do I do that for? I can imagine sometimes these guys do that. Like I'm ready. I'm going to hit it, even though they're not. And so I don't know. Like I feel like there's got to be something that he can take away from this. It might not be now, might not be right now or this week, but I feel like there's got to be something. And if you keep giving him a little things that he keeps learning, little takeaways that he keeps getting, as good as he is and as good as he keeps playing, I actually become more of a believer. Now yesterday, like people who want to like give it to Bryson because of those 2 missed putts, that's silly. I mean, here's what Rory did do well all week. He was 4th in accuracy and 6th in distance off the tee. It was unbelievable. Unbelievable show of driving.
Mm-hmm.
He was 4th around the green, 27th in putting. Round 4, he was 2nd in strokes gained off the tee, 8th in putting overall for round 4. He gained 1.6 strokes off the tee gained 2.2 strokes putting in round 4, despite the 2 missed shorties. He was making everything until he got to 16.
Well, and
everything.
on top of that too, some of the up and downs he had were pretty daggum good also, where that he saved and
Great
made
up.
those putts that could have easily
Yeah.
been, missed putts from 10 feet or 15 feet. He got them up to, 5, 6 feet and made the putts. So,
But out of the 60-something or 70-something players that made the cut in round 4, he was 69th in strokes gained approach, which for Rory McIlroy, like for you to hit the ball as well as you did yesterday, he hit 11 of 14 fairways yesterday and averaged 314 yards. For you to have short irons into those greens and all that height and not be able to control your distances or not be able to, control your direction well enough that you lost 1.8 strokes on approach, that's really what cost him.
that is.
And it's uncharacteristic of him, right? It's not normally what we see.
I mean, can you imagine if he was on with his irons? He
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
does get to like 10 under and wins that golf tournament by 3 or 4 shots.
What do you think about him leaving? I've gone back and forth on this since last night.
I mean, is this the video of him just leaving the clubhouse and driving off or
Yeah, I mean, he was quick to get out of there as soon
Yeah.
as the putt drops. He was gone.
he didn't do
He
any
didn't talk to media.
Yeah.
He didn't talk to anybody in the parking lot. He threw his bag in his car. Somebody, I can't remember his name, wrote an article in Golf Digest who was in the parking lot, said his tires didn't squeal, but you could hear him gripping for traction. He got out of there pretty hot.
This is funny because I thought of this. So, I had a major golf tournament a couple weekends ago.
Mhm.
Final day of the major. We're done. We didn't make the shootout. And the best match though that was to make the shootout was between brothers. Okay. And so one brother had, a guess and the other one had a guess. And one was getting a lot more shots than the other brother was. They finished. So the one who was getting more shots won the match and they made it to the shootout. The other brother and his partner get in his big ass truck and literally like they leave. And I think I heard him yelling about strokes and peeling out of the parking lot, like right before the shootout. It was the funniest thing I've seen. This is what kind of reminded me of Rory. And it's just emotions, you've lost a big, huge event. And I don't know. I don't have too many opinions about it because I could just see me doing the same damn thing, like I'd be ticked, so.
And that's where there's dissonance because I get that, but you're also not a professional golfer who's signed up to be an entertainer and who's signed up to, like, part of your job is to get in front of the media. It is what it is. Now, no one has gotten up in front of the media more than, I don't think, more than Rory over the last however many years, but for damn sure the last 3 years, and taken plenty of heat, answered a lot of hard questions, whether it's about LIV or himself or whatever. So he's not typically a guy that runs from that. And I give him a lot of credit for that. And because of that, he has equity built up in a lot of fans' minds, I think. But also fans can completely empathize. If you've played golf at any competitive level and you are a competitor, even I don't care if it's a member guest, like, and you're competitive, if you lost it that way, you could understand being pissed and not wanting to say something emotionally that might get you in trouble, or just being pissed and wanting to go be pissed.
Yeah.
So you can empathize with that. At the same time, you can look at guys like Greg Norman, guys like Phil, guys like Jean Van de Velde, some of these epic meltdowns over the years, these epic guys who've choked in a lot of scenarios, who hung around and who congratulated the winner, who faced the music, so to speak, with media. You could look at Bryson after making birdie on the 72nd hole at Valhalla to possibly get in a playoff or beat Xander at the PGA, waited around for Xander and shook his hand. I mean, albeit I understand Bryson made a birdie to get in to give himself a chance versus missing a 3.5 footer, power lip or whatever. There's a difference, but that it's a tough one. Like, I've wrestled a lot with overall, where do I land on it with Rory?
Well, I do think
you got the swirling divorce. The
it
worst case scenario in that too is like, so there's some ding dongs in the pressers, right? We know this. Like, I could see, I know it'd be crazy, or some people listening may think this is crazy, but it's not. Somebody could have, he could have gone in there and somebody in the press room would have said, "Do you think all the divorce rumors played anything into your the divorce on again and off again into your mental capacity this week or what?" Like, somebody could have asked him that question,
Yeah.
and he could have snapped. Like, maybe he's like, I need to avoid the possibility of just absolutely snapping on people right now.
Yeah, I think
Which I do know you can relate with.
yeah, 100%. I think you're right, but it's interesting because I don't remember if the Open Championship, don't they bring out the runner up and they kind of they give you a medal or something, and I feel like at the
Mm,
Open Championship when Cam Smith won, which was a heartbreaker for him, he
yeah.
did all the right things. He was
Yep.
he did that with a lot of grace, I thought.
Yeah.
Very opposite this time. So I don't know. I mean, he can only be mad at himself. There's nobody else he can be mad at. So, I think
Yeah.
that's, maybe that's part of it is he was so distraught with himself that he didn't want to face anybody else. I don't know, but I agree with when you started off though, he has built up a ton of equity. And I think you could even look at the Open Championship with Cam as one of the times where he did act correctly. I'll give him
Yeah.
probably a little bit of a pass here. It wasn't the best look, but probably can give him a pass.
All right, that's enough of that. Let's move on to a couple other things. Pinehurst, I thought was fantastic.
Yeah.
Love it. We don't have to get in on that. I do want to break it down quickly from a DFS betting standpoint. Talk about a few takeaways. The Millie Maker, the large Millie Maker was interesting, Pat. There were 218,000 total entries that did not fill. The winning Millie Maker lineup spent 49.9K. Did not have a single player sub 10% owned. Like,
Wow.
could have been easily duplicated and was not. Of the top 21 lineups entered, 11 of them entered 5 or less total lineups, even though it was 150 max entry.
Hmm.
And those two things point to everything opposite of what we know of, like, winning the Millie Maker, which is like, you gotta have two guys under, in the 5% to 7% low own range. You gotta have two guys under that in that 10% range, 12% range. You gotta have a total of 70, 60, 50% total ownership. You can't spend all your, don't max out your salary, do this, do that. You probably need to max enter a contest if you're going to try. And I think obviously there's always exceptions, right? And there's variance to this. It's another example to me of how freaking hard DFS is,
Yeah.
and how it's getting harder. It's gotten harder since we started 9 years ago. We won a lot more money back then than we do now. It's just everybody has so much at their disposal. There's so much content. There's so many models and stat things like BTN, and it's so hard to. I mean, you almost just have to. It's just hard. And then there were 349 people total who max entered that Millie Maker. 349 individuals put 150 max entries into that contest, and only 17 of them made a profit.
Wow. Okay.
In theory, those 349 people, in theory, are sharper players, or they're just idiots with a lot of money. And 17 of them made a profit. So, yeah, it was interesting for us. We did our 5K draft. 4 out of our 6 made the cut. I would say out of guys in the 5K range, that was pretty good. From a betting standpoint, you obviously hit Bryson at 22-1. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Scotty Scheffler was a massive L for me, a massive disappointment. 4 birdies on the week for Scotty was horrible. I had him in 100% of DFS lineup. So obviously my little circle on my DraftKings app was further left than AOC, and I was dead on arrival. So and I take that L. Just taking L's. One of the L's I'm not taking is actually a few. I put in an 8-leg to make the cut parlay in the Discord, and that bad boy hit, Pat. That bad boy hit. Now, did I realize it hit on Friday? No. I actually completely forgot about it. I put so many props and round 1 stuff in there, round 2 stuff in there. And I think round 1 we broke even again. Or maybe not. I think we lost some money round 1. Anyway, 8-leg parlay to make the cut. Hit for the Discord. I'll take that. Another one that you and I both loved, I think me and Kenny also hammered it on our Nuke show, was Hideki top Asian. Even though it was juicy, it was like minus 125. That was the biggest lock of the century.
Yeah,
I think we talked
that
about
was a
that
good one.
We talked about that one in the Discord as well. One of the things I did this week for the first time ever was publish my bet the number model, Pat. Publish the BTN model. And I think, all in all, I think it was a success.
Yeah.
Now,
did I
the
make fun of
BTN
it? Yes, I did.
Yeah, you did. I think overall the BTN model was a success. Here's how it performed. Out of the top 25 in my model. Now, I adjusted the model throughout the week. I added 2 stats. I changed some weightings. All that got noted in the Discord. But of the top 25 at the final model, I had 6 miscuts. Hovland, Ben On, Justin Thomas, Eric Van Rooyen, Alex Noren, and for some reason, Rico Hoey showed up in there, which I should have just been like, what the is that doing? But it had Rory. I had 6 of the top 10. I had 6 guys in the top 10, 8 in the top 15, 11 in the top 20, and 13 in the top 30. The BTN model suppresses some of the LIV players because here's what we know from working with BTN and BTN working with LIV currently, actively. LIV data that you find on every other site right now is broken. It's not true. It's not right. It's not accurate. Okay. We're working through it. BTN's working through it. LIV's working through it. BTN's actually helping LIV kind of get a little sharper on this, but it's not accurate 100%. So BTN chooses to not include it right now. So it did suppress names like Bryson. But all in all, I thought the model turned out pretty nice. And then you and I had some nice hits on the top 20 locks and bombs. We hit Decky at plus 160, Burns at plus 188, who started off terrible on Thursday, came back and played really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then Aaron Rye at plus 450.
Yeah.
So
Aaron Rye was also up there in the model too. And
he was up
that
there
was kind of, hey, we're going to trust the model. You had him up there in your top 10 in the model, and so did BTN. So
he ended up being he was actually 3rd in my model. Yeah. Good God. Any other betting wins for you that I'm missing or
no? I think you got them all.
Any final thoughts on this U.S. Open championship before we move on?
I thought it was a great championship. I thought Pinehurst was amazing. I just love the way that course played for these guys. I think despite the fact that we had to keep hearing about the effective green sizes.
Yeah.
It was interesting though. I mean, they were it was kind of cool to see what those greens could do to these guys. But I think that it was fair. I never really felt like it wasn't fair, So
Agreed.
And that's one of the things you always kind of is a takeaway from the U.S. Open. Is it a fair setup or not? It was, and it produced an amazing championship. So all in all, I was quite happy with it. I actually made money in DFS this week. So I was,
Look at you.
I gotta give myself props for that. So mostly playing single entries. And you know who really did it for me? Sam Burns. Started off so bad. This is what DFS is great. I mean, and this is golf, especially the U.S. Open. He just kind of inched his way. Like he went from like starting off like 5 over through his first 5 holes or whatever to finishing in the top 10. That's the U.S. Open for you right there.
Wonderful recap there of the U.S. Open. Let's move on. Let's talk about our week, and let's talk about the Travelers, the golf course, what you need to know. This week is going to be interesting for us, and we're probably going to have some haters here, but let me just start off by saying this. There should not be a dang signature event after this. I just don't want a signature event. A no-cut signature event, I don't want it. I don't. And I'm not happy about it. I don't think players are happy about it. I don't see anybody online happy about it. We all kind of need a break. And I think a lot of these players want a break.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see. Yeah, we'll talk about this as we get into some selections, but it's a tough week. We've been given an opportunity to go do the LIV Golf media thing in Nashville. We love Nashville. One of our biggest and best partners is SoBet. They are based in Nashville. It's a great opportunity for us to go do some content with them, meet up with those guys, connect with those guys. They partnered with us last year, partnered with us this year. Just great guys, great people. And it's a good opportunity to go shoot some content on the course with them. Me and Pat are going to play Troubadour on Tuesday with our friends at SoBet and maybe a couple other special guests. You're going to want to be watching the Tour Junkies Instagram channel. I can tell you that. And then look out for later content coming out of that. We're playing Troubadour on Tuesday. And that's going to be awesome. LIV Golf in Nashville, I wanted to go to because I also just love Nashville. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do the media thing. Pat's going to experience his first LIV Golf event. Thursday, we've been invited to play in the LIV Golf Pro-Am. We've never played in a Pro-Am before, so that'll be fun. Not sure who we're playing with yet. There's rumors. We are happy to have 2 Discord members, one longtime Discord member, Mr. Dylan Hess, little caddy stank.
Yeah.
Dylan Hess will be caddying for Pat. My boy Chris Drape will be caddying for yours truly. We offered that to the Discord community. Those guys are making the trip to Nashville just for that occasion. We're going to treat them to the Wednesday night Pro-Am party. Then they're going to be our caddies for us on the back Thursday. Going to show them a great time. Going to have a great time with those boys. Looking forward to that. Another privilege of membership, folks, is opportunities like this that come our way. We always try to go through the Discord first. We really appreciate those guys too. And especially Dylan has been a longtime active member of the Discord. Drape got right in and mixed it in with everybody
as soon
quickly.
As he got in, he was active. Love it.
Yeah. When guys get in the Discord and they immediately make their presence known, it's like, yes, that's the kind of community we want to build. Those two are great. Pumped for that. I think there are other Discord members potentially rumored to be making the trip to Nashville. We'll see if they show. We'll be out on site Friday. I think we're doing some pre-round 1 coverage on the LIV Golf pre-show on Friday morning. Shotgun start at 12:15. We'll be out on the course, running around, hospitality, whatever. If you see us, shout out. We're going to experience a live action LIV event, and we're going to get some great content for the media day on Wednesday. But want to thank our friends at SoBet for that. And listen, to those of you who have not tried out SoBet, give them a shot. Seriously, this is some of the best ways that you can support the Tour Junkies and what we do and keep us doing what we're doing is supporting partners like SoBet who are investing in us both long term, innovatively working with us, like the content we're going to do this week in Nashville. Give SoBet a try. Just give it a try. See what you think. They've got 60 plus of the best sports handicappers on the internet, capping every sport every single day and giving you great reasons, logic, full transparency behind the units and what they're doing and how they're doing it. It's just a great platform. And if you click the link, code TJ will fill. You get it for $1 for your first month just to try it. And then it's 33 cents a day after that, $9.95 a month after that. Too easy. Give them a shot and support them. If you don't like it, you don't have to stick around. There's no obligation, but we would ask you to at least give it a shot. And we appreciate what SoBet's doing for us and what they're doing for us here in Nashville. It's going to be a great, great week of content coming out of Nashville. So for that reason, the Travelers content is going to be lesser here, right? We are going to have our emails go out. We'll drop a betting card, but we will not be. We're going to be busy. We're going to be busy in Nashville, but I think it's going to be fun. It's going to be different content for us, different experience for us. Looking forward to passing it along. If you hate LIV and you hate our guts for doing it, I'm sorry. Don't be so dumb. No, I'm sorry. That wasn't it.
It's not that you're dumb. Dumb. Just don't be so closed-minded. How about that? Even if Pat, me, can be a little more open-minded and get amongst it at LIV, you can at least appreciate that if you're listening out there and you're a LIV hater.
Yep. And you also need to know, we have about 10 between players and caddies, friends that play at LIV that we were friends with before LIV. So these guys are our friends and we know them and we're excited about hanging out with them, excited about seeing them. And we've met some friends within LIV along the way, working with them with the Bet the Number stuff, working with them with some content, media stuff as we're doing this week. And you know what? They're treating us great. They're giving us a lot of access, which is fantastic. And they're giving us the opportunity to play in the Pro-Am. So it's going to be fun. Pat and I playing in our first Pro-Am, it's going to be some nerves. We're going to document it. We're going to have a camera crew there. Going to be some nerves. We'll see how it goes.
Rory can miss a 3-footer.
Yeah. Oh, buddy. Yeah. Anyway, so that's our week this week. And let's get into the Travelers, talk about the golf course. Since we didn't do a course breakdown show, I'm going to pull this up and share my screen real quick. This is the course analysis page on Bet the Number. Now, I've only got the last 3 years selected, kind of just because the identity of this championship has changed a little bit over the last couple of years, having it with that elevated status, a little bit stronger field. I think the golf course is starting to become overpowered by some. But anyway, so you can see that it's over the last 3 years, it's averaged higher fairways in reg, higher greens in reg. You got, in terms of against tour average, more birdies per round, less bogeys per round against tour average. Keegan Bradley is your defending champ. Xander Schauffele won in 2022 and Harris English won in 2021. You can see kind of how they got it done to mainly an approach and then kind of a putting contest at times. Tough to gain a lot of strokes off the tee here. You can find yourself hitting it to, guys hitting it to the same spots off the tee and guys big hitters clubbing down, but you also see big hitters lately on this course at times, cutting corners and doing some crazy stuff there. Tough to gain a lot of strokes around the green too when you have a 70% average green or reg percentage. So it really does turn into kind of an iron and putting contest. You got guys, like last year you had Zach Blair and Brian Harmon and Chez Reavie in the top 5, but you also had Scheffler and Keegan and Cantlay who hit it far and dominate with tee to green play. So it's a little bit about how the finishers have fared. It's not really a bomber's paradise based on this unique calculation. I'll bet the number. And you can see here the strokes gained approach distribution over the last 3 years from the fairway, from the rough, and from other. Big emphasis on that 126 to 175 range, and not a whole lot of rough penalty if you miss it. So that's a little bit of a breakdown on TPC River Highlands. We know it's a par 70. We know it's a Pete Dye creation up there in Cromwell, Connecticut. Only 6,800 yards. Greens are people are going to say bent POA mix. They play like bent. They're pretty pure. That's what we know. Every year we see that. And the weather looks pretty good right now, Pat. I will say that. I do think they might be getting a little heat wave going on right now, but the weather looks pretty nice. I think we could fire on some outrights here. Speaking of outrights, Pat. Now, we don't have producer Tony in here today, so I don't have a graphic. We've done this season-long bet. We've done this season-long bet, Pat.
The one you changed the rules on?
No, I didn't change
that
the rules.
That season-long bet?
No, it is. We both agreed. We agreed here on camera in front of people that it was more than fair that I picked first in 2 majors and you picked first in 2 majors.
Okay.
You had already picked first in the first 2 majors of the season, so it was time for me to pick first. I picked first, and I picked Jan Rahm, who is a toe picker, and picked it so badly that he had to withdraw. But
you didn't say anything. This is another asterisk. You just kind of let it go.
Let what go?
That you didn't replace the player. You just kind of it was like you just said
that's not in the rules. We don't have that in the rules.
But like Tuesday, it was announced that he was not.
It's not in the house rules.
Okay, whatever.
But you could have texted me on Tuesday and been like, "Hey,
I forgot about it." I forgot about it.
Not in the house rules, and you forgot. Not my problem.
Okay.
In MP. Also, I'm pretty sure if you check the tape, and I don't know this for 100%, but I'm pretty sure that if you check the tape, last week when I picked Jon Rahm, you picked Bryson, and we had a little discussion about it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wow, that's interesting, because I had the 2 names I had written down were Rahm and Hovland, and I thought you were going to pick Hovland.
Yeah. I was close.
So my second pick was Hovland, and would have been Hovland, who also missed the cut. Ball don't lie.
Okay, we'll give you. I'm still going to cry about this because I don't.
So all year I have been getting it handed to me in this season-long update, in the season-long bet. And for those of you who don't know, we're picking a fade every week that's 30 to 1 or shorter in the opening odds on Monday. Yeah. We're picking that fade. We're taking whatever.
It's tough to fade.
Taking whatever money they earn on the course, adding it all together. Whoever has the most money at the end of the year between me and Pat has to go to a horribly embarrassing, terrible, awful concert by themselves and just document it with social media. That's the end of the season punishment. I've been horribly behind all freaking year, and literally to the point of red phone ringing. The ship's going down. It's time to jump in the lifeboat. We got it. Women and children first. Let's go. And the perfect thing that happened.
Yeah.
Because honestly, even had Bryce, you chose Bryson. Even had Bryson not won, things would have changed. But let me ask you a question, Pat. Where do you think it stands as of now? Do you know the numbers?
Well, I know I was up by like $4.5 million. And I think he probably won 3.6 or 8. I'm guessing I'm now up maybe 500,000 or 600,000.
Okay. Before last week, I had a total earnings of $8,296,000. You had a total earnings of $4,890,000. Bryson won $4.3 million.
Good Lord. I didn't realize it was that high.
Bringing your total now higher than mine. You are at $9,190,070. I am at $8.296 million. So you're about 900,000 ahead of me at this point.
I don't know if I
have taken the lead.
This.
Yes!
That's so
I
stupid.
cannot believe that, dude.
That is so stupid.
I thought it was like 3.52, and then when I saw it was 4.3, I was like, oh.
Well, when you said it, I was like, crap, I'm effing behind now. Jeez, I was already looking at concerts for you.
This thing just got real interesting.
I mean, and you flipped it. You did the whole thing. I was like expecting the first pick.
Yeah, but you can't get the first pick, man. You can't have the first pick in the biggest fields every freaking week. Okay, let me ask you a question. Because you ended up putting Bryson on your betting card. Yeah. So some people would go, ooh, Peth being a tout. He's saying one thing out of one side of his mouth and doing another thing out the other side of his mouth. So you chose to fade Bryson when we recorded the show on Monday. By Wednesday, he was on your betting card.
Yeah.
Was this a hedge or was this a change?
No, actually, I had to be honest, I really had forgotten he was my fade on the show. But also, if you remember, we did the DFS show on Sunday and we did the betting show on Monday, right? Isn't that how we did it?
No, we did it reverse. We did the DFS show on Sunday and the betting show on Monday last week.
That's what I said.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so when we did the DFS show Sunday, if you recall, I actually liked Bryson on the DFS show, and you had a kind of a pretty good argument against Bryson at this golf course. And so I started kind of, I guess, to be honest, maybe you were playing mind games with me, and it all led to these things that have you leading now. But I was like, so then we get to the betting show, and I'm kind of like, I don't know. It was so hard. It felt like there was only like 8 guys that we could even look at that were 30 to 1 and under. And I liked a lot of them. Victor, I probably was very close to taking, but I ended up taking Bryson. You picked Rahm. I probably would. Actually, I think Rahm was going to be one of my first ones, but I don't know. You got Rahm, and so I kind of got off and I got Bryson. But in general, when I first looked at things for the week, I did actually like Bryson. And I sort of thought myself and picked him for the season-long bet. And then when it came down to doing my betting card, it's kind of like you come back around and you're like, I just like Bryson. I put him on the card. So, whatever.
I'm glad you did. God, we got us a contest now. Yeah. All right. I will kick it back to you. You can have the first pick.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
This week. Now, I do think there's a case to be made that we should have an audit of the signature event first selections, because signature events, obviously big purse. In fact, some of them bigger than a major. So I do think we should have an audit of that. I think I mentioned that last week on the show, but we've not yet done that audit. So I guess I'll give it to you.
Well, thanks. I mean, it's hard again this week, but I think I'm just going to go with Victor this week. I feel like he's still out of sorts, even though he played well at the PGA Championship. He's been okay here in the past, but not great. There's a lot of good history up here. So I'm going to go Victor.
Interesting. It's not where I thought you were going to go.
Okay.
I think I'm going to go Rory. Yeah, I think the pick is Rory. This will be his 4th event in a row because he played the Canadian Open.
If he withdraws, by the way, you got to change your pick.
You got
to change the pick. We're gonna make that.
That is not in the house rules. It's not in the house rules.
It wasn't in the house rules that we could change who picked first last week. That wasn't in the house rules either.
Well, you agreed to it. I'm not necessarily agreeing that I changed this.
If he
I think
withdraws before, I think that needs to be like we got to add that in. I've had an in-tournament withdrawal, which helped me out, but that was during the golf tournament.
All right, I will agree. In fairness, I will agree that if he withdraws before Thursday, I have to change the pick. But you have to, like, somebody has to notify me. Like, I literally may not know. We're going to be busy as hell at LIV.
Yeah.
If I don't know that it happened, now I think he could. I think he's probably, if he withdraws today. But you got to let me know.
Speaking of that, Nut Hut. Where are all you Team Pat people when John Rahm withdrew? Why didn't y'all come into my DMs telling me, hey, DB's pick withdrew. Why don't you make them put his, feet to the fire?
I don't know.
Maybe they thought Team Pat right now. Just they don't even come to my, they just letting me, not be paying attention.
Maybe they thought you could, you're on it enough that they trusted their fearless leader. But yeah, I'll go Rory. Like, even if he tees it up, I mean, it took a lot out of him. Like I said, 4th event in a row, 5th event in the last 6 weeks. Actually, I think he's played a lot of golf. He played the Wells Fargo before that. God, and he played the Zurich. Was the Zurich the week before the Wells Fargo? Wait a minute. Is that right?
That does not.
Wait a minute. This is not right. Hold on. I'm looking at something weird.
Oh, he skipped. He did skip the Charles Schwab, but
I had my stuff out of order here. Okay, there we go. Yeah, it's a lot of golf, and I don't think he wants it. So I'll take Rory. All right, let's talk about who we do like up here.
Okay.
Any bets 30-1 or shorter that you fancy this week?
Well, there's a few guys in here that I like. I like Ludwig this week at 16-1. If you can get him longer, then that'd be great.
Same.
He's played once already here. I'm assuming as an amateur with a top 25, or had he turned pro at that point?
No, I think he was an amateur.
Yeah.
Well,
when did he turn? I don't know, but he finished T24 here last year at his first attempt. I'm a big fan of Ludwig this week at 16-1.
I agree.
I think, I like Hideki. Hideki's at 25-1. T13 here last year, also coming in pretty good form. He's 9th in the BTN model. So checks a lot of boxes. So I'll go with Hideki, and I'll go with Lud. There's a few names also in here I'm kind of on the fence about. So I'll wait to hear what you have to say.
Lud is my number one here. Just again, you talk about some of the fatigue. Some of these guys just not wanting to play this golf tournament. Probably most of them up top here wishing this was not on the calendar as a signature event. I think Lud is probably an exception here. Playing great, young guy, ready to go. I think he'll be fine. And I think, the around the green play is kind of what let him down this past week. It's kind of the only thing that really lets him down. I think he'll need that less this week in Cromwell. Probably hit, 75, 80% of his greens in reg. I can see that happening. So I want Lud. He's my number one. If I had to pick another one, it's Patrick Cantlay, actually. He's played like trash all year. I'm not trying to overreact to the U.S. Open, but it is kind of a perfect storm. You have a guy who, this is only his 3rd week in a row playing, not his 4th, not his 5th out of the last 6 weeks. He's coming to a place that he absolutely dominates and loves. And he's coming in really playing nicely. Now, we didn't talk about him, but I mean, Cantlay had a chance to actually win that golf tournament.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I know mentally and emotionally he was in, but it's not like he can't take a break today. Like he knows TPC River Highlands. So it's like, what does he really have to do? He probably doesn't have to play a practice round. If he played 9 holes between now and Thursday, he's fine.
He shot 60 here as an amateur.
That's insane. So I think Cantlay, the best number you can get him is 25-1 on FanDuel and MGM right now. I think Cantlay and Lud up top. Done.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the next range. I want to thank our friends at Bet the Number. If you took in that model last week, you got DB's model. Guess what? I'm going to open up the skirt again for a signature event. DB's TPC River Highlands model is public on Bet the Number if you want to check it out. BetTheNumberGolf.com is the website. Link is in the description. Code TJ gets you $5 off a monthly membership or $50 off an annual membership. And if you are a paying member of the Tour Junkies Discord, you can DM myself or Pat, and we will give you a one-time unique code that will give you the biggest discount available on a Bet the Number subscription. You will not regret it. They are adding new features that may go live this week. You're going to want to check that out. They added new features for last week for the U.S. Open, had live data tracking for the U.S. Open. Great stuff coming out of that group of folks over there. For a site that just launched on January 1st of 2024, unbelievable stuff. And the guys behind the scenes know their stuff. They're out there every single week evaluating these golf courses. They've been doing it for years, evaluating these players, analyzing data for years for PGA Tour players, for the past two U.S. Ryder Cup teams. Sharp people behind the scenes at Bet the Number. You'll want to check it out. Don't forget to check out the Bet the Number model as well, which I kind of take and build mine off of. So link in the description, code TJ, or hit us up in the Discord. All right, next range, mid-range up to 75 to 1. I tell you what, Pat, there's a lot of guys in these next two spots that I quickly eliminated just thinking about, like, can they win? Are they tired? Blah, blah, blah. And so I do think overall, I think we can see a long shot here. I think we could get kind of a bomb. And when I say bomb, I'm saying like starting in this 35 to 40 territory and on. I think that could happen this week. Who do you like in this range?
Well, I think there's a few guys that I think I'm going to end up having on the betting card. Sahith is one of them. He's at 35 to 1. He's played here 3 years. He finished second a couple of years ago, coming in pretty decent form. He's also 14th in the BTN model. I do like Sahith. I like Tony Finau, also 35 to 1. I think he's one that's, he's really coming into form when you look at just his results lately, starting back at the top with the top 20 at the PGA Championship. And then there's really kind of two others right here, right next to each other that both we saw on the leaderboard this past Sunday, and that's Russell Henley and Corey Connors. Russell Henley is at 40 to 1 and Connors is at 45 to 1. Both of them in the top 15 in the BTN model. Both of them coming in pretty good form. Connors finished top 10 here last year. Russell Henley's finished top 20. And I do think there's a little bit of course history here that I'm looking at for sure. Despite, I know you mentioned, the last 3 years, but even looking at that, Connors and Henley have played well. So I like those two guys also. And then I will let you go with some of yours in here.
Connors is interesting in a birdie contest, right? I mean, which I think this could turn out to be. We've seen, winning scores get up there over the last few years. Keegan won at 23 under. Xander won at 19 under. I do think the course was a little softer last year. Harris English won at 13. But there's 19, 17, 17 before. So, I mean, we're looking at a winning score in that high teens, early and low 20s spot, which concerns you with Corey Connors. But I will say, I mean, his putter, he's just like having these spike weeks. I mean, it's like we either get typical Corey Connors, like at the Memorial where he loses 4 strokes putting, or we get RBC Canadian Corey Connors. He gained 7. And then U.S. Open week, he gained 3.4. Now, obviously, U.S. Open, difficult, harder to make a bunch of putts. That probably helps him. Connors is close for me, but I think I'd prefer Henley. I totally agree with you on Henley. I think you can get Henley at 40 to 1 still on FanDuel. So I like that. Finau is an interesting one because he's played a lot of golf lately. I like him a little better on like long iron courses. I think that's where he's checking a lot of these approach boxes. Because when you look at that 120 to 180 number, he's not great in that. He's not gaining as many strokes on the field in that range. Whereas the longer iron stuff, he can. So I think I'd prefer not to have him. In the Russell Henley kind of bucket, I kind of like course history Brian Harman.
Yeah.
I mean, TPC River Highlands is a very course history heavy golf course. We do know that. Also, we should mention this is a signature signature event with no cut.
Yeah.
We've had the ones that have had the small top 60 in ties cut or 50 in ties. This one has no cut. So everybody's playing 4 rounds unless they withdraw. Harman hasn't done much lately other than some top 30s, but he loves this place. So, you give me kind of a bulldog both from University of Georgia and just the Bulldog in general. At 40-1, also on FanDuel, I'm interested in Brian Harmon and Russell Henley, 2 Bulldogs there. And then a few more names just to toss out there. A few names that I'm kicking around. I know Sepp Straka disappointed a lot of people last week, but he played quite well. He got unlucky one time. Got lucky then with a hole in one. Lost a lot of strokes around the green, but still hit it really good, dude. Like Sepp still hit it straight, gained plenty of strokes with his irons, lost 5 around the green. That's going to be hard for him to do here. So I think that's something to note with Sepp. You can get him at 60 on FanDuel. And then I do think defending champ Keegan Bradley is worth a look.
Yeah,
I mean, Keegan almost won Colonial. I said this at the beginning of the year, like I still see like Keegan on this like revenge tour to damn it, I'm going to make the Ryder Cup in 2025 on points. You're not going to take it away from me. Like I still see that happening. So he's 55 on FanDuel. And then I got one more that I'm usually never on, but I might be on Seabez at 80-1. Thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, I've got Keegan checked. I like Sepp too. I think Keegan could certainly come here and win back-to-back golf tournaments. Seabez, I guess I wasn't really on him for. I know a lot. He was chalky down there where he was last week for the U.S. Open, and I didn't play him, but he actually did pretty well. I'm not sure I'm there yet with him. I am kind of wanting to look at Adam Scott a little bit at 60-1. You know, I think it just feels like this is a golf tournament. Like isn't this where like Jim Furyk shot like a 58, you know, a little bit older guy. It's not, you know, like I could just feel, you know, somebody like an Adam Scott who hasn't won in a long time, you know, getting a win here. You know, obviously still playing well. So I do like him at 60-1. I think outside of that, that's about it for me, kind of up in this range. I may take a look at Harris English too, who obviously has a good history here with a win. 70-1, I think, is where he's at. So,
yeah. Okay. Let's move down to the next range. Thanks to our friends at Underdog. Had a great time playing Underdog last week. Did the best ball draft in the Mayo Classic. Just barely missed making money on that. That's kind of sucked, but it's a good time. Best ball drafts are a lot of fun. The pick'ems we do every single week. Drop those in the Discord. And usually we're on the year, we are quite profitable, at least in DB's Bomb Shelter for round 1 on Underdog plays. Get in there, get involved. Your state is likely legal. If you can play DFS, you are likely able to do Underdog pick'ems. And if not, you're probably also, you're at least able to do best ball drafts. And a lot of states, you can do both. So check it out. Link in the description. The code that pre-fills there is Junkies, and you get up to $250 in bonus cash if you use that code. Get involved with some Underdog. We appreciate them. All right, I got 2 names here in the up to 125 category. Both are at 120-1. Taylor Pendrith and Thomas Dietrich.
ooh,
I've been talking about Pendrith, man. Like he's since that win, I think that's juiced him up. He's leveled up a little bit. He's confident. He's cock strong, as some would say. You know, he's just walking around peacocking. We've seen bombers play well here. I think Pendrith is still very much in play. He's a great putter. 120-1 feels good. And Dietrich can just get hot. Like the irons do suck, and that concerns me for a golf course that obviously rewards really good iron play, but his putter is so good. And then he just has these spike weeks like he did at the US Open where he gained 5 strokes on approach, and he's come close a couple times in some big tournaments. I just think the guy can get really hot on the greens. And if he gains 3 strokes with his irons, like he could be in it.
Yeah.
So both at 120-1, I like.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I actually, both Pendrith and Dietrich were ones that I like this week. I think, you know, to me, JT Poston's a little bit interesting. I'm seeing him 90-1, but that's maybe on DK. You know, has a second place finish here a couple years ago. Didn't he like really have a chance to win this golf tournament then? I can't remember. I mean, I know he was second, but I felt like was that JT Poston? Was that in a playoff? I don't know.
Yes. I don't know if it was in a playoff, but he did. Yeah. He could have won here.
But I do like Poston this week. I think outside of that, in this range, I think that's probably about it for me.
All right, any bombs over 125 to 1?
I mean, we got to look at Victor Perez. I'm seeing him at 180 to 1. Another guy who's just, he checks a lot of boxes. He's 30th in the BTN model. Had the 12th at Memorial, very tough golf course, but a third also in Canada. Missed the cut at the U.S. Open, whatever. I think Victor Perez is one that he's probably the only one I've got up here.
Perez just worries me a little bit just because he's played a ton.
Yeah.
Now, he missed the cut at the U.S. Open, got a little weekend of rest. I do agree. Check some boxes. I do think he's interesting. I think Ben Griffin is kind of in play at 150.
I was actually looking at him, and I was a little nervous about him.
He's ranking quite highly in the old DB's early model here. He doesn't hit a lot of fairways, which is kind of a problem for him because he's also not super long. But he doesn't miss a ton. I mean, he's kind of around average. But he just has these spike weeks and in both putting and iron play, like he did at the Canadian Open, where he finished runner-up. So I think Ben Griffin is interesting if you're looking at kind of a birdie contest, long shot winner. Pavon at 150 is, I don't know. Like, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't get, like, I also don't want to be, I don't know. Like Pavon finishing 5th, and don't get me wrong, like played really well.
Yeah.
Better than maybe I thought he was going to play over the weekend. At the U.S. Open is at 3 under is different than possibly winning the Travelers at 20 under, given his recent form outside of the U.S. Open. Now I know he won. I know he won Torrey Pines, but like even Torrey Pines wasn't really I mean, right? Wasn't that the one he won? That wasn't. He won that at 13 under. It was another difficult course. I don't know. What do you think about Pavon?
Yeah, I think maybe we are starting to see a trend of him being a guy that we want to look at on difficult courses, on courses where it might not be a birdie fest. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be in on Pavon this week though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk top 20 locks and bombs, and we'll get to some DFS discussion. Give me 2 locks, top 20, Pat.
2 locks for me. I'm going to go with Tony Finau at plus 125 and Corey Connors at plus 140.
Okay. We got 2 different ones, but they're 2 we mentioned. I'm going Henley at plus 120. Seabass plus 190. I feel that good about Seabass.
Okay.
I was gonna go Harmon, but I think I like the Seabass. I like the Seabass value there.
Yeah.
Plus 190. All right, give me a bomb. 3 to 1 or longer in the top 20.
It's actually, and I kind of let you got to him first on the outrights, but Ben Griffin at plus 300. I had him written down as a top 20. So
you stole him from me on this. Okay. I got one of 2 guys here I'm debating. I think I'm going to go with Lee Hodges. Lee Hodges at 4 to 1. Still like hitting above average fairways, not going to overwhelm you with distance that tends to hold him back. Iron play can be a little sus, but he's been hot lately. T12 at the PGA Championship, T12 at Colonial. Definitely a strong putter, can gain strokes around the green putting. Has played here twice, T25 in 2022, and missed the cut, probably very close to the number last year. So I'll go Lee Hodges at 4 to 1 as a bomb. There you go.
Okay.
That is the betting portion of the show. Let's get into a little bit of a DFS discussion. We're going to move quickly through the DFS, talking about who we think the chalk going to be in each range and guys we like, pivots, that kind of thing. All right, so let's kick it off in the 10K and above range. You've got Scheffler at 12.5 all the way down to Sam Burns at 9K. My guesses on the chalk are a lot of guys at the top. I think it's probably Scheffler still.
Mm-hmm.
Xander, Ludwig, I think Kawa, and Cantlay. I think it's going to be a pretty heavy the top there.
I
think
would
people
agree.
jump in on Cantlay with the good finish and the course record stuff. Maybe Morikawa gets, I don't know, but it's still going to be Morikawa. Rory is going to be an excellent pivot opportunity if he does in fact end up teeing it up. I think Victor Hovland is going to be. I think Hovland's going to be a pivot opportunity, and I actually kind of like it. Like the only thing about the U.S. Open, I know you just faded him in the season long bet, but it was really just a short game that left him, and I just don't see that needing to be a big deal here. I mean, you're hitting 70% of greens and reg over the last 3 years on average. His iron play is looking back to kind of Hovland-esque form. I think this is not as difficult a place to chip on. I think if people bail on Hovland, I will happily play him as a pivot.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't hate that as a pivot. I mean, obviously, yeah, I just faded him on the season long, so it'd be hard for me to be all in on a pivot for him. But yeah, I don't mind it. I kind of wonder about Fleetwood a little bit. Like, where is he going to be? I mean, he's not going to be chalky. He hasn't shown the best history here, but he certainly checks a lot of boxes, and he's been playing well. He's also been putting amazing. When you look at his last 4 events, the irons have been about average really for him. But if he starts to dial those things in and is putting as well as he is, I think Fleetwood could also be a decent pivot option there. He's not one that I want to bet, but I think in DFS I do like it. So
yeah, there's just a number of guys in here who've just played a lot of golf lately.
Yeah,
and I just wonder about a handful of them. So it'll be interesting. It could be a great week to go contrarian here and maybe build some balance lineups. So let's get to the 8K range quickly. I think Finau, Henley, Connors, and Tom Kim are going to get some love here. I mean, obviously, guys like Brian Harman, who have a great record here, could get some love. Keegan, maybe, as your defending champ, had a runner-up in 2019 as well. Everybody loves to hit. So I don't know. I mean, this range is going to get some play. Possible pivots mean I think Fitzpatrick's going to be pretty low. He kind of bucked his head early at the U.S. Open, but then I think dropped off. Spieth is going to be low for probably the right reasons. Although he finally gained strokes on approach. I mean, he gained 5.8 strokes on approach at the U.S. Open. Lost 6.6.
amazing.
That's insane. He'd have been in the top. He'd have been in the top 20 just if he broke even.
Yeah.
Top 15. Boy, that's going to be enticing. Justin Thomas obviously was terrible, missed the cut. Irons look terrible. Putter remains terrible. I think I'm out on that one, even though that'll be a pivot. The chalk here that I'd prefer to eat would be Henley. I think I really want to have Henley. I don't think I'm going to eat the chalk if it's bad on Finau. I don't think I'm going to do it if it's on Connors. A chalky Connors and a possible putting contest scares the daylights out of me. I'll happily pivot to Brian Harman a little bit. Tom Kim's played a ton of golf. He's young too, but I think I'll pass on that one too.
So I think I'll probably play some chalky Finau if he is chalky. I like Sahith too. Both those guys up top. Kind of near the bottom though. I think Fitzy could entice me a little bit.
You rather play Fitzy over Spieth?
Probably actually no. I probably would rather play Spieth.
I think I'd probably rather play
especially
Spieth.
with what we saw with his irons last week. So yeah, I'd probably go him there. I'll have chalky Russell Henley too.
Yeah, I'm gonna lock that in. I think Harman and Keegan are gonna be my other 2 plays here, but I could see Harman getting a little steam.
Yeah.
Okay. 7K range, and again, remember, no cut this week. So, 7K range chalk, I estimate to be I think people still want Sungjae to hit, and I think he's probably closer. I didn't think that was a great course setup for Sungjae. Lost a lot of strokes putting, but didn't hit it poorly. This could be a much better spot for him. I think Sungjae continues to get some love. I think Seabez, because people like Seabez. And I do think Pendrith, who I just mentioned on the betting show, I think Pendrith is cheap and feels nice.
Yeah, I think Pendrith will have some chalk. I think Sepp will have a little bit of chalk too.
Yeah,
I think one that's.
I think I'll eat the Sepp chalk again.
Yeah,
it burned me last week, but I think I'll eat it again.
Do you think Akshay will have a little bit of chalk?
He might. People like Akshay.
People
I'm
love
out.
playing him. I'm kind of out.
I'm gonna eat the Pendrith chalk too if it's there.
Yeah.
But I also Detry. If Detry's low, I'll pivot to him. I think Hoagie's interesting if he's low. Missed the cut this past week. Had a free weekend. I think Hoagie's in play for me, and I think a bounce back here could be for Ben On. Like had his worst putting performance in at least a while, last few weeks at the U.S. Open. Still gained, and it wasn't terrible everywhere else. Just kind of field average. He ranks out pretty nicely in my model. He's scoring birdies. That 120 to 180 iron play is good. The off the tee play is really good. He doesn't have the best record here, but I think he's a pivot. I wouldn't play him if he's chalk, but I'm a little interested in terms of a pivot.
Yeah, Ben On was one I think you can come back to. I'll have a good amount of Adam Scott here at 7,700.
I like that.
I like JT Poston again at 7,300. I'll probably eat chalk too for sure with Taylor Pendrith, and then I think I could end up with a little bit of Harris English also at 7,100.
Okay, let's do a quick 6K draft, shall we?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm going to start. I think you started last week. I'm going Ben Griffin.
God,
we both like him.
All right, I'll go with Victor Perez then.
Okay. I really like taking some shots on guys here with real upside. Since again, no cut. I might for the first time play Nick Dunlap.
Mm-hmm.
At 6,600.
I actually
like the guy. At least
I liked him last week at the U.S. Open. I think he just had I can't remember what
he just kind of was stuck in neutral.
Yeah,
he missed the cut on the number. He really was just neutral.
Yeah,
like strokes gained total, he was literally neutral. He couldn't get anything going.
I'll go with Svensson here at 6,400. I mean, he is just kind of a cut making machine. He putted horrifically. He lost 6 strokes putting. Still made the cut at the U.S. Open. And really has not putted well. God, he turns that putter around, and you probably get a top 25 out of Svensson. So I'll take him.
The incoming stud Michael Thor Bjornsson is tempting. I don't think this is the perfect setup for him, although he did finish 4th here as an amateur in 2022. I'm going to go with a guy who just won at the Colonial and did not play the U.S. Open. He's going to come in fresh, ready to eat. I'm going to go with Davis Riley. Like, we see Davis Riley have spike, iron, and putting weeks, which is what you need. Mm-hmm. And he had that at Charles Schwab. I think Riley's interesting in give me 4 rounds. I'll take it.
Okay.
$6,200.
Well, then I'll take your guy who was a top 20 long shot with Lee Hodges and add him to it with 6,400. I think that rounds out the team pretty good.
I like the roster down there in the 6K range. That's it for us. Thank you, guys. Hope you have a great week. May your screens be green and bend over your bookies. Check out the Instagram this week. A lot of fun LIV content, LIV Nashville content. Playing Troubadour on Tuesday with our SoBet friends. It's going to be a good time. Have a great week. See you out.